Hi all. Previously in the studio, I finished up this background and we talked about my favorite papers to use with encaustic, and I showed you how I embed them into the painting. And this is where we left off with this painting. So in this week's video, I'm hoping to get this painting finished, and I'm also taking you along for a little springtime adventures here in beautiful West Virginia. So stay tuned to the end for that. But first, before we jump into this week's video, here's a quick introduction in case you're wondering what this channel is all about.
Hi there, I'm Stacy, the encaustic mixed media artist behind Studio Stacy. Encaustic literally means to burn in. So I paint with beeswax and a torch, and because it's mixed media, pretty much anything else I can get my hands on. If you're new around here, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. Consider subscribing and joining this artsy community. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button, which helps me get introduced to more like-minded artsy folks like yourself. Morning all. Today's plan on this painting is to get a good portion of the tree down, and then fingers crossed I can get out and get these words printed that I want to put down on this painting. So let me flip the camera around to remind you of what the tree is gonna hopefully look like in the end, fingers crossed. All right, here is a sketch of the bark that I did for this dogwood tree, and I'm gonna do something similar to that. So that is what I'm hopefully going to be doing on this painting. And as you can see, this is much skinnier than this, so we're going to see how this goes. Also, these are the three colors that are in this, just kind of like a gray, purpley kind of color, brown, purple, gray, a regular old black, and then this is Encausticose Irish gray color. So those are the three colors that I'll be using, and yeah, let's get to painting. Alright all, I got as far as I can get on this painting for now. I have to finish up the rest of like the skinny little branches, but I need to go print out words to get the words put down on this. But I'm happy with how the tree is coming out. I'm happy with how it's, you know, really popping off that background. And yeah, so I will pick you up in just a few to get these words down and hopefully finalize this painting. morning all, back in the studio, and I have the Kiska, electric Kiska, turned on, hooked up to the temperature regulator, and the plan for this morning and today is to hopefully finish this dogwood tree painting. And I think I'll probably put you on time lapse for this, and just to, you know, you've seen me do this before, so nothing new, but thought I would stick you on time lapse and also listen to my audiobook while I do this. Speaking of which, I'm looking for some audiobook recommendations. I just finished The Nightingale, which was fantastic. Really, really good book. And I'm now moving on to The Wish by Nicholas Sparks. And they're both kind of, I don't know, heavier books, if you will. And I'm only like one chapter into The Wish, but I know it's probably going to be quite sad. And if any of you read The Nightingale, amazing book, but it's definitely a heavier book. So if you have any recommendations of maybe some kind of light-hearted books, I'm in the mood for maybe a little bit of a palate cleanser, if you will. I love these really deep stories and heavy books. But yeah, I could perhaps use a bit of a palate cleanser, a bit of a refreshing kind of happy-ish book. If you have any recommendations, let me know down there below in the comments. Or if you have a book that is definitely heavy but you loved it, I would also love to know those. I'm always into the book recommendations. I listen to quite a few of them. So anyways, let's get to painting this dogwood, finish this dogwood tree up. I just have the branches to go, so let's get this done. Alright all, I think this one is done, and I'm going to do my future self a favor, which I don't often do, and that is get this mess cleaned up. I'm going to take the tape off of this painting, get the mess cleaned up, and then future me will appreciate that. I wanted to mention a couple quick things. First, the Encaustic brush cleaner, the soy wax that I mentioned a couple of videos ago about how I clean my brushes off. I also use that to clean out the Encaustic writing tool and this electric Kiska. It works really well for basically cleaning out anything that you use with the Encaustic paint, the soy wax. And it's soy wax brush cleaner by R&F. So I just drop a couple of those, and because those flakes are so small, it works really nice in the tiny little Kiska, because you can just drop a couple in there, and basically I just keep dropping it in. It doesn't take much, but I just keep dropping a few things in until it runs clear. And then I know next time I go to use it, especially if I want to use it for something like white, and I had that really dark blue and black in there last, it won't be, you know, it'll be white. It won't be a lighter blue or a gray color mixed in with the black or blue. So it works really well for that. Also wanted to mention, I got a question on one of my older videos a while back now, but I got a recent question about the Encaustic writer and this electric Kiska on if you need to fuse or not after you put down these fine lines. And I have heard from the manufacturers that you do not need to fuse because you're putting molten hot wax. You're not brushing it on with like a cooler brush. It's molten hot wax, and it's because it's so hot, it's fusing into the layer underneath. That's what I've heard. Having said that, I always take a very light fuse at the end of my paintings on the final painting whether they have this writer tool used on them or not, and just fuse real lightly over the whole thing one last time, just to make sure everything is fused. And then I got one more question recently about when I take the tape off, how come I use the torch to take the tape off? And that is because of these drips coming down the sides of the painting onto the tape. And basically I take the torch along the edge here, just ever so slightly, real light heat, before I peel like this side off. And then I'll stop, peel this side off, go to this side, again, take the torch ever so lightly, real lightly along this edge, peel this side off. And that does two things. First, I'm making sure those edges are fused, because I don't scrape those edges nice and clean. I leave them, like the very edge of that painting, I leave kind of the wax dripping down over it just slightly. I like people to be able to see the edges. It's just something that I prefer. You can actually scrape them clean after you've heated them up. You can scrape them off nice and clean, and some encaustic artists do that. I don't. So it makes sure that those edges are fused, and then it also, when I peel that tape off, the wax is ever so softened, pliable, a little bit meltier, if you will. Meltier, I don't think that's a word. Anyways, it's a little bit softened, so that as I'm peeling that tape off, that edge, the drips that are going down that side, they don't chip off onto either the front or the side of it, because it's slightly more pliable. Hopefully that makes sense and answers that question.
All right, all, this concludes the painting portion of this video, and here is the final painting. Really happy with how it came out. Thank you so much for joining me in the painting portion, and stay tuned for springtime here in West Virginia. If you're not staying tuned for that, don't forget, hit that thumbs up button if you liked the video. All right, all, as the weather warms up and the trees start to bud out, that can only mean one thing. It's time to get this wood chopped up and ready for next winter.
Get to work. There's the work.
Fancy new blade.
A new chain. Nothing better. Look at it shine. Picking up that reflection.
And it's a good thing we have new saw blades, as we have some pretty big pieces of wood to get through. All right, now that we have the wood all chunked up into the sizes we need it, it's time to go down and get the splitter. And boy, are we grateful for this splitter. It just goes through these huge, massive logs like it's no big deal. continued to split and chop and keep gathering firewood for the next several weekends in a row, and we have a pretty good pile. There's still one more tree up at the top of our property that we'd like to get, but we'll see if we get to that. And I'm really glad that we got this done when we did, and because there were some critters that were starting to live in these rotted out logs. So it's good to get them chunked up and chopped up before they all completely rot and end up with a bunch of critters living in them. Anyways, we have a pretty good pile for this coming winter. Hopefully it will be enough this year. And we are now moving on to the next project. Where we live here in beautiful West Virginia, we actually get quite a bit of rain. More rain than Seattle, believe it or not. And we also live in a valley, so we're kind of at the bottom of our mountain. And all of the rainwater, as you can imagine, flows right down onto our property. So every year we do some drainage maintenance.
Let's play in the woods, she says. Nature is fun. Well, an idea with just a little bit of rain, how much water comes off the mountain. We are just kind of cleaning out and digging out a few new pieces of our trench here. We did this a couple years ago, but as you can see, it's going pretty well. Runs all the way that way. Eventually, it goes all the way down there. All right, keep digging. I'm just gonna be here. Oh wait, can you get me that water bottle back there? Right out there. I need that water bottle. I'm thirsty. A little different perspective.
All right, what Matt is trying to show you here in this camera angle is that this is kind of maybe midway up our mountain, this drainage that we put in here, and it flows pretty good, but it gets clogged in certain areas. But basically, this keeps the water from dumping down onto the cabin area and more into the driveway. So we've dug this trench a couple years ago, and it starts up top here and goes all the way down. And as you can see, it works quite nicely. It goes all the way down to the creek that's in front of the studio. And speaking of in front of the studio, see that fence there? That is our next project. We've decided that it needs to come down. It's kind of pretty much falling down as it is. And the previous owner had put this wire up there. And basically what it does is it just grows prickers every year. So we are cutting it out and taking this fence out because we think it's going to look a lot better. And honestly, I think it's more of a hazard here than anything because it is so wobbly. And hopefully you will agree with us. I think it really does look better. Just kind of opens up this whole space here without that fence being there. And just wanted to let you all know that we have done quite a bit of projects around here, but it's not all work, work, work. We did manage to get out and explore the property, see some of the wildflowers growing, and the wildlife is definitely back and strutting their stuff.
Look at me, I'm a peacock. Hey baby, how you doing? I'm coming, look at me. Is it hot in here or is it me? Do tell.
All right, all, that's it for this video. Don't forget, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Really does help me out. Consider subscribing if you're not already. Thank you so very, very, very much for coming along. Oh, and if you have any audiobook or book recommendations, let me know down there below in the comments. Thanks again. See you on the next one. Bye for now.